Hey guys, it's KJ from the Thescariestmovieever channel on YouTube. We really are living in amazing times, and there's a lot of crazy things happening out there. We are in what I call the beast system, and it's manifesting more and more. We're living in the apocalypse. The apocalypse means the great revealing, the great unveiling. The veil is lifting. There is real spiritual warfare that's taking place right now all around the planet. And here on my channel, these are subjects that we often explore. So when I saw this story recently, I knew I needed to do a video about this subject. And there's some other subjects connected to this that we'll get into as well, but check this out. The spells on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina are real, and the cast has tales to tell. So what we're seeing right now in our world as this beast system manifests even more and more is this merging of technology and the occult. We have major companies like Samsung now developing technology that will link your brain up to your TV. Here's another example. Netflix viewers will change program with just a stare. Netflix has invented a way for its users to change what they're watching by staring at their screen and sticking out their tongue. It's even more interesting when you consider that many of these black screen TVs that are coming out now, these big black screen TVs, many of them, they're actually calling them mirror TVs as well. So you're literally looking at a black mirror for your television, or what I call a scrying mirror. These are technological scrying mirrors, offering you a look into another dimension, which is what we call television, entertainment. But many people like myself actually consider these portals in their own right. I've done a few videos in the past on this movie called Metropolis. I believe it's from 1927. I call this the first Illuminati movie because in this film they show how they're merging technology with the occult, technology with Satanism. And this being such an old movie was way ahead of its time, because now we're seeing this concept manifest globally. And it's accelerated. We're seeing this everywhere. And we're finding the same concept now with technology as far as it's advanced, intermingling with the occult. So this right here is from the article. It says, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina dabbles in satanic worship, possession, visions, plagues, and blood curses. And that's just the first episode. The creators of Netflix's spookiest new show really meant it when they said this was going to be a dark adaptation of the original Archie comic, and they haven't cut corners when it comes to bringing the magic to the screen. The characters in the series chant real spells, and battle dark forces drawn from actual history, to the point that the cast members themselves were often fearful that something otherworldly would follow them off screen. When a group of reporters visited the Vancouver set, production designer Lisa Soper said that they take very careful consideration to the specific items that they bring in when speaking about the many props that are tucked away all over the set. Soper herself is a practicing pagan. She says, most of the writers and myself are into pagan rituals. Even when the witchcraft isn't happening on screen, the background of scenes contains nods to the occult, including real spells carved over doorways and into walls. It's this type of authenticity that makes the show stand out, but once the cameras stop rolling, there's an eerie feeling that pervades the set. Tati Gabrielle, who plays Prudence, one of the sisters, was raised Baptist Christian in real life, and she will not partake in some of the set's inside jokes, such as saying, "Hail Satan," instead of "bless you" when somebody sneezes. And that's all I want to cover from the article itself, but it gives you a general idea of what we're dealing with here. I mean, you're dealing with people that are really practicing the occult behind the scenes of these TV shows, and they're literally putting spells on camera and rituals, real rituals on camera. And this is interesting. It all reminds me of a fashion show they did inside a church about a year ago or so. It was a satanic fashion show inside of a church in London. So what was even more interesting is the people behind this fashion show admitted that they were literally doing real rituals in public. They were even utilizing real sigil magic by having sigils painted on all of the models' faces. Each one of these had a part to play in this massive ritual that was taking place. And there are other examples you can find of Wiccans behind the scenes in Hollywood, and actual witches and Satanists performing their craft on the silver screen for everyone to see. This is from an older movie called The Craft. It says the girls used actual Wiccan rituals. The Craft's technical advisor was Pat Devon, a Dianic elder priestess. She consulted on the elements used in the movie and modeled them after actual rites. One of the actresses in the film, Fairuza Balk, is an actual Wiccan. And during the invocation of the spirit scene on the beach in the film, a colony of bats appeared and lingered on the set. The waves rose up and extinguished the candles used for the scene when Nancy was calling for the spirit to, quote, fill her. The set lost power as well. Isn't it interesting, though, how we can correlate the rise of Satanism in our culture with the rise of degeneracy, filth, reprobate minds? I mean, this is an image from the actual TV series Sabrina. And again, this is a show that's aimed towards high school kids. And here's another example of how reality is mixing in with entertainment and vice versa. This right here is another image from Sabrina, the TV show on Netflix, and this is the statue of the Baphomet, right? Or a representation of the devil, the goat god. And of course, there's the children right there at the lap. And I've covered this particular image quite a bit in some of my other videos because this is the reality we're in. We see examples of this all around us at all times now, of the rise of Satan, the rise of the Baphomet, the rise of this kind of consciousness in our culture, and the attack on innocence, on children, on purity. So that was the image from the show, but we'd seen that image before, of course, from the Satanic Temple. They've been building those very statues for the last few years, right? So the Satanic Temple takes on Netflix over Sabrina's use of Baphomet. But again, this just goes to show you how reality is mixing in with our, quote, entertainment. This is a clear example of more predictive programming, social engineering, the beast system rising, manifesting. Again, we see this combination of darkness, the occult, of Satan mixed in with the children. It reminds me of this gentleman here's Zach King, who is a former Satanist, and he performed satanic rituals inside abortion clinics. This is from an interview LifeSite News did with Zach King back in 2017. It's interesting what he says here at the bottom. It says, I know abortion is a satanic sacrifice. Why is the devil intent on killing the unborn? Satan does fear certain things. Innocence is one. You can't get more innocent than the baby in the womb. And again, guys, you'll hear me saying this in videos for years. It's all about the innocence, the purity. This is what the enemy is attacking. And we find these same concepts in the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter films. One of the most obvious introductions for children into the occult. And typically the bottom line when it comes to the occult is a hunger for power. Harry Potter and the rest of witchcraft promises that power. Harry Potter provides a basic initiation into witchcraft for a whole generation. So this beast system is manifested to a point where starting in kindergarten, children can find Harry Potter, TV witch shows, and children are then led on to horror films and hundreds of Wiccan and pagan websites. And when they thirst for more power, high school and college Wiccan covens are available. In the adult world, we find corporations hiring New Age practitioners to provide seminars and sensitivity training, stress relief, and self-improvement. Through the Harry Potter films in particular, the ancient occult religion of Wicca has been introduced in almost every public school in America. Through Harry's world of sorcery, children have learned what tools today's witches and pagans use: supernatural imagination, spiritual concentration, wands, brooms, spells, and curses. So even beyond all of this, even beyond the connection of the occult and our entertainment, which again, most of us can see that very clearly now, as it really has been manifesting and becoming much more in our face over the last decade or so. But beyond all of that, there are other signs. I've done videos in the past as well about the return of Mother Goddess worship, as if here we are at the end times, the season of the end, and all the ancient religions are rising once again for this end time scenario. But I thought this was interesting. Topless feminist screams God is a woman as she tries to steal a baby Jesus statue. I think the underlying message of the metaphor is pretty obvious with this one. And we've seen that same idea manifest even recently. This is one of Satan's puppets, Ariana Grande. And I don't say that to be snarky, like I do feel bad for some of these people who've completely sold themselves out to this beast system. They're basically puppets at this point. This is from a video she did recently called God is a Woman. So once again, we have that rise of this mother goddess consciousness. And of course, here she is on top of the earth, right? Here's another example of what I was talking about. Again, the return of the old ways. Historic Baal arch condemned as ancient evil manifesting itself. We know they're putting these archways up all around the world right now, and they have been over the last few years. And now here's another example, ancient pagan gods reappearing around the US and around the world. First we had Baal, and now we have war goddess Athena, as the occult is soaring in popularity. Now here's another news story from this year. UN, United Nations, brings back image of third pagan god. Again, it's the return of the old ways. We're seeing a lot of interesting signs of end times. Here's another one. The doomsday clock is set at 2 minutes to midnight, closest since 1950s. Now here's another example from just over the last few months. The World in 2019 Economist magazine cover hints at the arrival of the endgame. If you're not familiar with the Economist magazine covers, please look into this. Over the last few years, they've definitely put out a lot of interesting symbolism, a lot of occult symbolism. Myself and many others believe this is a prime example of lesser magic. Where they put their plans before our very eyes in plain sight, but it's kind of hidden. The occult, right? It's kind of hidden, but hidden in plain sight. So over the last few years, many of us have done videos on the covers of The Economist magazine. I've done several myself. But it's very interesting because the cover for the World in 2019 is unlike all the rest. As you can see on the right-hand side, the World in 2019 cover of The Economist, there's nothing there. It's just black and white, a duality. But there's nothing there, no other images. So is this another sign of the end times? No matter what it is, it certainly doesn't seem optimistic. And here's another interesting example of the return of the old gods, if you will. 2,700-year-old sarcophagus of, quote, high priest of god Amun, discovered in Luxor. There's also this story, 15 places around the world where the penis is worshipped. Penis worship is ancient, it goes all the way back to Babylon, and we see examples of this all around us in our world. But there's still cultures that are worshipping the penis. Over the last few years, many people have been filming what they call as the Eye of God up in the sky. So end of world sign, Eye of God sparks biblical doomsday meltdown. But once again, another example of how this stuff is manifesting. Here's a good example of one of them. Cloud called Eye of God appears in sky above Kazakhstan. And coincidentally, or not, Kazakhstan is what many people believe the capital of the Illuminati here on this planet. Kazakhstan and the Illuminati in an unfinished metropolis. You should go check out Kazakhstan sometime online, take a look at some of the images, particularly from Astana, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So interesting that we're seeing the Eye of God manifest above this city that many people claim is the capital of the Illuminati. Now here's something else you can add in there. It's a very interesting anomaly. I've been following this one for over a year now. But if you check it out for yourself, you'll see that there's tons and tons of footage from all around the world of the skies literally turning purple. Every now and then they'll find some kind of a reason for this, but it definitely doesn't apply to all of them. As I said, this is happening all around the world right now. There are examples of the skies turning purple, and it has people really freaking out. So it's always interesting to me the way that things kind of connect with one another. And I couldn't help but draw this connection. Again, following all of the skies turning purple around the world, it reminded me of the Super Bowl halftime show from last year where they used this kind of hologram image of Prince. And over the last few years, as the beast system manifests, more and more we're finding actual rituals taking place in public before our very eyes. And all kinds of occult imagery happening as well. It's almost inevitable when you see one of these shows that these performers are inside of a magic circle. That's Justin Timberlake down there inside that one. And again, this is where they had kind of a hologram of Prince playing out kind of right next to him there. Many people saw during this performance what they believe was symbolism of Satan himself. You see the tail right there. So you may remember that they actually put Prince's symbol in purple all around the stadium outside where they were performing on the inside. I just think it's interesting that it was all about purple. We're seeing this from Prince. It reminds me of some of his lyrics from one of his songs where he says, "The sky was all purple, there were people running everywhere." I think that's from his song 1999. The next lyric in that is, "I tried to run from my destruction, you know I didn't even care." And that's from a long time ago, that song, but still, isn't it interesting that over the last year or so we're seeing purple manifest in the skies all around the world. We had this performance about a year ago with a hologram of Prince. Many people seeing satanic imagery around this hologram. They turned it purple on the outside here with his symbol. And I just put it all together and I find it very interesting. Again, all these things manifest sometimes in a very unique kind of a way. And again, as all these things are manifesting, we find this story from this year, 2018. Ancient lost city of King David is uncovered near Jerusalem, and experts say it proves the Bible is accurate. Now here's another story about the return of the old ways, right? The old ways coming back. Designs revealed for Iceland's first pagan temple in 1,000 years. I found this article very interesting. Incredible evidence proves the 10 plagues are happening today. Now here's a story from just a few weeks ago. Rabbi warns new Israel-Palestine conflict could be start of biblical war. Battle could be more horrifying than anything we could ever imagine. And then we have this recent story as well. 250 Israeli rabbis to Trump. You are fulfilling biblical prophecies. Are you starting to see how all this is connecting? It's very interesting, isn't it? We really are in the end times. And it's a very exciting time to be alive. So adding to that story about the rabbis speaking to Trump and about Trump fulfilling biblical prophecy, have you seen this? It's an ancient stone carving that bears an uncanny resemblance to President Trump is turned up on an old English cathedral. Tourists have been flocking to the Southwell Minster Church in Nottinghamshire ever since the 700-year-old sculpture was spotted last year by British journalist Samira Ahmed, who instantly recognized the similarity. And they're putting this down here as proof of hashtag end of days. Check this out. And there it is. And this is real. That's 700 years old. Very interesting, right? Very strange. I'm not saying it is him or not. I really don't know. But I think considering everything else and putting it all together, it's just, wow. It's definitely something that makes you wonder. Now here's a few more signs that are very interesting, and it all points to end times. First, red heifer born in Israel for 2,000 years triggers Armageddon fears after Christian and Jewish holy books say that it will bring the end of the world. And then we'll cap it off with this story right here. The 3 signs that biblical prophecies about end of the world and the Messiah are, quote, coming true. And all 3 of these signs have emerged in the past few months. We talked about one of them. It was the red heifer showing up. There's 2 more. Now here's another sign, and this is from the prophet Ezekiel. And it's about life returning to the Dead Sea. Well, it turns out over the last couple months, that's actually been happening. So we have fish in the Dead Sea. It's a prophetic yet endangered restoration of life. Now here's the 3rd one. The end of the world is here if snake appearing in Israel's western wall is symbolic of ancient biblical prophecy. And this right here is the 3rd sign. A snake wriggles out of Israel's western wall, sparking claims prophecy about coming of the Messiah is coming true. Snake filmed scaring a pigeon while crawling between stone of the western wall. Hebrew bloggers claim the symbol is an indication of the Messiah's coming. And the pigeon represents Israel while snake represents evil, which plagues it, they say. And there you have it, guys. I think that's a lot to think about. There's a lot going on right now in this world. We are definitely in that season of the end times. I'm not a date setter. I don't know when anything's actually going to pop off or not. But I know that all the signs are there. The symbols are there. Spiritual warfare is ramping up. The beast system is manifesting. Innocence, purity, God's kids in general are all under heavy attack right now. But this isn't a time to live in fear. It's a time to armor up and be prepared spiritually for everything that's happening and everything that's going to happen. And I hope these kind of videos help you. Keep everything in perspective again and don't live in fear. So until next time, you guys, take care of yourselves out there, alright? And I'll talk to you a little later.